All right. Imaginary numbers. Complex numbers. Nikki, what's a complex number? It's part, go ahead. Part real and part imaginary. Imaginary number. What's an imaginary number, Preston? It's fake. No, it is. We can look at it, but yeah, you couldn't measure an imaginary number, could you? Kinda. Yeah. It's not there. Imaginary numbers come into play when we try to take a square root of a negative number. Okay? Because we can't, can you square anything and come up with a negative number? No, so you really can't take a square root of anything and come up with a number, right? So to signify it, this negative right here, we can bring outside of the square root and call it an I. Or 2I. Which means that we have multiplied that I, what I is signified as, is the square root of -1. That's what I is. It's a square root of -1. Real interesting here. If you were to square I, have you ever seen a square I? Me neither. I've seen round one, oval ones, but never a square I. If you were to take I squared, okay, if you were to take I squared, that's the same as saying the square root of -1 times the square root of -1. When you multiply negatives by each other, you come up with positives, right? Don't you? But in this case, you don't. What we're doing is we're actually getting rid of the square root, and we're just ending up with -1. If I was to take the square root of 2 times the square root of 2, what would I end up with? No. Come on. No. Just 2. You guys are good. When you multiply a square root times itself, when you multiply a square root, let's say of j, times the square root of j, you come up with j. Okay, what if you did this? Good question. Square root of 5 times the square root of 4. What would you come up with? Square root of 20. Square root of 2 times square root of 2 equals square root of 4. What's square root of 4? 2. But here's where it doesn't make sense. What's the square root of -1 times the square root of -1? But if we did like this and we multiplied them together, what's -1 times -1? 1. But that isn't the case because it's -1. It doesn't follow the rules of math. I'm sorry, I don't mean to get excited. But it doesn't follow the rules of math, but that's what this means. I squared is really square root of -1 times the square root of -1. And it equals -1. All right? That's something you're going to have to remember. You're going to have to remember it. No, that's just the first part of it. It's not going anywhere. Isn't that feeling good? Come on. So let's take a look here once. If we were going to multiply, guys, hey, if we were going to I don't know, we're going to figure it out when we get there. If we were going to multiply two of these together, knowing knowing now that I squared is equal to negative 1. This is important. We're going to multiply these out. So we're going to go 7 times negative 4, which is negative 28. 7 times 9i, which would be a plus 63i. Negative 3i times 4 negative 4 would be a plus 12i. And then negative 3i times plus 9i would be a negative 27i squared. What do we know about I squared? What's it equal to? Negative 1, right? So I can right here, I can change this to a plus 27 because I know that's a negative 1. I can combine my i's and I can come up with 75i. And I've got my negative 28 here. Now I combine my negative 28 and my plus 27 and I come up with 75i minus 1. I've just reduced down this right here to 75i minus 1, which if you look, they got it reversed around the other way. But you see what we did? Knowing that I squared equals negative 1, we can calculate that. That's what your assignment is. You've got 9 problems there. Let's take a look on the other side ones. Oh, I knew you'd do that. Oh, here it goes. Here it goes. We've done that how many times, huh? On the other side, find the quotient. Yeah, we're not going to worry about that. I want you guys to be able to multiply these so you understand it. Have you done moving yet? There we go. Okay, you've got 9 problems. 9 problems. Go ahead and get them done.